Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Mexico today, speaking with President Claudia Sheinbaum about trade. Now, the meeting comes just months before the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement is set to expire and will be renegotiated under the shadow of American tariffs. In a news conference, both Carney arrived. Sheinbaum said her focus for the meeting would be on short-term work visas and expanding ocean trade routes between Canada and Mexico. And for more on Carney's trip south, we're joined by political expert Keith Leslie. Keith, thanks very much for joining us. Now, this meeting comes as Canada, Mexico, and the United States are all getting ready to renegotiate their free trade deal. How do you see today's meeting impacting those negotiations?
Well, Mr. Carney, of course, has talked about, increasing and changing Canada's markets from the U.S. to other countries and traveling to other countries. So this is one we want to increase our trade with Mexico, currently at $56 billion a year in two-way trade. That's quite significant. But they also want to lay the groundwork for those CUSMA talks, those renegotiations that start next year, that are scheduled to start next year. This is a big deal for Canada. I mean, we need this deal and for Mexico as well. But right now we're looking for common ground. We don't want to be in a position where Donald Trump can play Canada against Mexico in negotiations next year.
Now, Canada and Mexico are expected to sign a new strategic partnership during the visit. What do you know so far about that deal?
Well, apparently a lot of it's going to cover security issues, such as trafficking in guns, in drugs, and even in people. They want to, crack down on all of those. And there's also going to be, again, bolstering the whole trade issue. They want to get more cooperation in agricultural issues and in energy. I think Ontario wants to sell them some nuclear power plants. So we're looking at some very significant agreements as they look for ways to, increase bilateral agreements between the two and then not, throw each other under the bus when it comes to negotiating with the giant United States.
Now, the federal government has confirmed they're starting consultations with industry leaders and provinces about the upcoming CUSMA negotiations. What do you think would be considered a success for Carney in these talks?
Well, at this point, anything that would reduce the tariffs from 25% and, of course, the 50% on steel and aluminum, if they can get those tariffs down to something like 10 to 15% that, companies can actually work with, can absorb, that's going to be a success. But Prime Minister Carney needs some big wins right now, so he needs a deal. If he can get a deal with Mexico, that's a good deal. But obviously, a renegotiated deal with the United States and Mexico is going to be crucial for Canada, and that's the biggest one he has to focus on right now.
And immediately following the announcement of tariffs, Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith made comments about Mexico being the actual problem within the trade agreement, not Canada. Do you think these comments will hamper the relationship between our two countries?
Well, he's going to have to do some fence mending when he's down there, I think, the Prime Minister, because of those comments by Premier Ford and Premier Smith. And, of course, if you think back to when the last time this deal was renegotiated, when it was NAFTA renegotiated into CUSMA, Mexico was quite prepared to cut a deal with the United States and leave Canada out of it. So both countries have a history of, let's face it, their big goal is to get a deal with the United States and perhaps to, if they have to get a bilateral deal with the other country, that's good, but they're willing to cut the other one out if necessary.
All right, Keith Leslie, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.